You are here because the outside world rejects you. This is your family. I am your father. Together we will punish these creatures. These turtles.
What I kind of want to talk about right now is the Ninja Turtles. Now, I grew up watching all the Ninja Turtle movies, the Ninja Turtles cartoon, and the Ninja Turtle comic books. I grew up with all of them. Here's the thing that bugs me the most. Within all the different franchises, the different versions of the cartoon, the different movies that have come out, why is it that in every single frickin' Ninja Turtle movie, they feel the need to change the Turtles' backstory? Shredder's backstory, Splinter's backstory, every fucking backstory when it comes to the Ninja Turtles, no matter what fucking story it is, always seems to change. First Splinter's a human, then he's the rat, then he's a human before he's a rat, then he's just a rat, then he's a rat that knows Kung Fu, he's a rat that doesn't know Kung Fu, that finds a book about Kung Fu and teaches the Turtles Kung Fu. What? Shredder's a scientist, Shredder's not a scientist. Shredder's a guy from Japan. Shredder's not a guy from Japan. What is going on here? The Turtles are going through massive, like, identity problems right now. You know, granted, the latest movie that have come out of the Turtles, it's not horrible, it's not bad. It's actually enjoyable, it's funny, I like it. It's just that with the Ninja Turtles, they've had more story changes than any other franchise that I can think of, as far as where they come from and why they are and what they do and everything like that. I don't understand. So here's just kind of like a mini rant about the Turtles. And I was watching the original Ninja Turtle movies with my kid, and the first Ninja Turtle movies, at least the Ninja Turtles 1 and Ninja Turtles Secret of the Ooze, both pretty decent films. 3 Turtles in Time or whatever, where they go back to feudal Japan. It isn't great. It's kind of it's a shit movie, but it still can be funny in its own ways. It's got its funny one-liners and things like that. At least Casey Jones makes a comeback for a very short amount of time. And that was the first time I ever heard the legendary song that is Tarzan Boy. I'm watching these original Ninja Turtle movies, and I noticed in Ninja Turtles 2, when Professor Perry, the head leader guy or whatever of TGRI, is talking to April O'Neil, and he's giving his interview about the chemical spill and them trying to clean it up, and you see all the TGRI scientists walking around in the background cleaning up shit. And the one other scientist walks up to him after the interview and says, "Is this really wise having the news here and letting all these people come out and see us? You know, what if something gets what if people find out about us?" That's when Professor Perry comes out and says, "The best way to hide is right out in the open." Which leads me to believe that Professor Perry wasn't an actual person, neither was anybody working for TGRI. They were all the little Krang beings inside their little robotic suits, just like the comic book. Now, in the comic book of the Ninja Turtles, the Eastman and Laird comics, the original comic books, the Ninja Turtles infiltrate the TGRI building, and that's where they discover that everyone working there, all the scientists, everyone that works in that building, is these little Krang guys, the little Krang brains inside these robots from another planet. And their whole purpose there was to study Earth and do tests on animals and people and everything else, and learn about the way Earth works. Because, I'm sorry, they're not from another planet, they're from another dimension. So, the whole thing with him saying that leads me to believe that the untold truth about Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, is that TGRI and Professor Perry, the only reason he freaking knows as much as he does about the mutagen, and all of a sudden at the end of the movie, when they're doing the news interview about TGRI, the building disappeared and everyone's gone. that is literally what April quotes at the end of her interview at the end of the movie. The building is gone and no one's around, including the professor. Which leads me to believe, just like the comic book, that the whole building, including everyone in it, freaking disappeared off the map instantly because of the teleporter built inside the building. Which proves that that Professor Perry and everyone working there were the little Krang robots the whole time, and that's how he knew how to create the formula to create Toka and Razor like that. Like instantly. Which is funny because Professor Perry could have had a more interesting role in the entire movie if they would have come out and actually explained that he was a Krang robot, because then we could have had that interesting dialogue or that interesting dynamic between the Shredder, because Professor Perry's being held by the Shredder the entire movie almost, and a Krang. Even though it wouldn't be Krang, it would be a Krang. The difference between Krang from the cartoon and the Krangs from the comics and now this movie is that Krang from the cartoon was like a mob boss of the little Krangs. That's why he was banished from Dimension X and exiled. None of the other little Krangs liked him because he was a little asshole. Fuck. So the Ninja Turtles have one backstory. If you're going... The Ninja Turtles have one true backstory if you want to go to their comic book. The comic book is, they were turtles, they were dropped in the sewer by this little kid whose glass container that he was carrying home from the pet store got smashed because a freaking TGRI truck dropped the canister as it was driving over a bump, smashes the glass, they go down the sewer with the TGRI shit, and Splinter, who was a rat, he wasn't Hamato Yoshi, he was a rat. They all transform together, and Splinter teaches them Kung Fu and all their new ninjutsu, because Splinter was the pet of Hamato Yoshi. He learned all the moves in his cage, and he witnessed Oroku Saki, now the Shredder, kill Hamato Yoshi, and now he's living in the sewer. They grow up in the sewer, the Ninja Turtles learn everything from Splinter, and thus forward goes to them meeting April O'Neil way later on, mind you. They don't meet April O'Neil till like maybe issue 5 or 6. The Ninja Turtles in the very first issue of the original comic book kill the Shredder. Yes, they kill the Shredder. Shredder falls off a building after getting stabbed. Leonardo drives his katana straight through Shredder's chest. Shredder falls off the building with a grenade and blows himself up. The only thing that's left of the Shredder by the end of the comic book is like a chunk of his arm that one of the turtles picks up and like throws behind him. That is the end of the Shredder within the first issue of the series. Then later on the Foot Clan will find pieces of him and then like reform him with these little worm things that somehow regrow Shredder in this like mutated Super Shredder with like 2 other little Shredder clones way later down in the series. But that's the original backstory of the Turtles. The Turtles have one true backstory, and it hasn't been followed really since that. Now, we're talking about like, I don't even know how many times it's been retold. They have like 10 different backstories, from the cartoons to the live action TV show to the 3 different movies that were live action to the computer animated movie. To the new 2 computer animated movies that took a whole new turn. And let me say something else that really drives me crazy. April O'Neil ain't no ninja. April O'Neil never learns how to do ninjutsu, and she never turns into a ninja. She never had any involvement with the Shredder. Her dad was never a scientist in the comic books. None of that. April O'Neil was simply just a reporter that fell in with the Turtles because she was doing a report on the Foot Clan. Literally, that's the one thing that seems to be true through all these varying stories of the Turtles, is that she's covering a story on the Foot Clan and somehow, dumb luck, she falls onto the Turtles. I would have to say the one true dynamic that we do see from the very first original Ninja Turtle movie is the Raphael dynamic with Casey Jones. That is like the one true thing that they held true from the comic book. Raphael and Leon, like all the Turtles, after the first issue of the comic book, had their own one-off comic. All about them. Donatello, Raphael, Leonardo, Michelangelo. They all had their one comic book all about them and this one little side story about them. Raphael's story was him basically fighting Casey Jones. The whole comic book. Casey Jones and Raphael hated each other. And by the end, they become, you know, the best of friends, leading them on like crazy adventures later on down the series. Which is, I mean, awesome. I mean, you see Casey Jones and Raphael take out people with freaking machine guns and shit later on in the series. So that's the one true thing that you see from the comic book actually carry over to film. There's not even a solution to this. They've made so many renditions of the Ninja Turtles at this point that their actual main story has been lost in translation. There's so many variations that anybody that's grown up past 1995 might not even know what the original freaking Ninja Turtle story is now at this point. So the only thing I would like to see is at least just one animated movie. Just one animated movie where they follow the story the way it goes from the comic books. Is it so much to ask? I don't know why it hasn't happened. The original story is so good that they could create freaking a whole TV show. AMC or something should pick up Ninja Turtles and actually make it the way it was done in the comic book. We had animated movies of the Max, we had animated movies of Spawn, we've had animated movies of Pitch Black and Riddick. I would like to see one of the Ninja Turtles in its original form where they're actually all wearing the same color. That's right, they didn't have all these different color bandanas on in the comic book. It was all one color and it was red. And the Ninja Turtles killed people. They didn't just beat them up and leave them for the cops. They killed people that got in the way. They killed Foot Clan. The Foot Clan was not freaking robots. They were people. There was no Rocksteady and Bebop, even though I love them from the cartoon. There were varying mutants that appeared within the series that have never seen the light of day in the Ninja Turtles that I would love to see come to light. I mean, you know how cool it would be to see a movie or at least a show or something where the Ninja Turtles finally meet the Triceratons? You probably don't even know what I'm talking about. Anyway, this is just like I don't even know what this is. This is just a small random rant about Ninja Turtles and what I'd like to see with the Turtles. I'm a huge fan of the Turtles, as you couldn't tell. And obviously it's just some fandom rant here about the Turtles. A little bit of my backstory of loving the Turtles and what I'd like to see for the Turtles in the future. I mean, I don't know. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you're a Turtles fan. If you're a Turtles fan, let me know in the comments below. If not, well then, man, I don't even know why you watched this video as long as you did. If you did make it to the end of this video though, I'd like you to leave a comment cowabunga in the comment section, or pizza time or something like that. Anyway guys, I'll see you guys later. Look at this. Even the games confuse the Turtles' identity. Look, that's from the actual comic book of the Turtles fighting the Krangs, but yet this game represents the cartoon.